We welcome you to Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue, and for the next hour, it's the Mike Houston Radio Show, talking about Citadel football until the top of the hour as it's Wofford week. The Citadel Bulldogs are back at home after a off weekend, an idle week, if you will, a open date, and they will take on the Wofford Terriers on Saturday afternoon at Johnson Haygood Stadium. Lots to talk about during the show tonight, and the head coach will join us coming right off the practice field, coming up in just a little bit from right now. This week, two of the top 5 rushing teams in the country will go head-to-head, and so you will see that matchup on the field at Johnson Haygood Stadium. We'll talk about what happened during the idle week and what obviously a game probably would not have been able to be played last weekend had there been one scheduled based on what happened with regards to Mother Nature. And so lots to talk about. We'll also be joined by one of the owners of Home Team Barbecue. Aaron Siegel is going to join us coming up in just a little bit from right now as well. So lots to talk about on the show as we're joined by the head coach of the Bulldogs, Mike Houston, who came right off the practice field to come over and take a look here. Coach, let's talk a little bit about what this last week has been like for you, because I don't imagine you could have played a game last weekend had there been one scheduled, could you?
Not in Charleston. So, in fact, the rain was so heavy on Wednesday and Thursday, it did impact practice those 2 days, even though we have field turf on our practice field. So, it was affected a little bit last week, and obviously over the weekend it was pretty drastic. And, the big problem we ran into was a lot of our guys went home, went to see friends. A couple of them went to some of the, the Clemson game or some other games and stuff like that. And so they had a hard time getting back to campus.
Yeah.
We had to cancel everything on Sunday, with all the flooding and everything, which is typically a work day, practice day, and had to get a message out to all of them just to stay where they were and just be safe when they try to get back. And then we got most of the roster back by midday Monday, and we're able to practice Monday afternoon, and we had the entire roster back by yesterday. And so we've had be able to catch up the last couple of days.
Now, in this particular instance, it wasn't just Charleston affected, obviously.
Right.
It was the whole state. But
Sure.
I think Charleston's had enough, don't you think, over the last year?
We're tired of the rain, so it was great to have the sun out today. It was really a perfect day for practice today. It was a little temperature starting to cool down a little bit, bright, sunshiny day, and just a good fall, crisp feel to the air.
I know you, as you got closer to the game you'll play on Saturday, you thought, hey, having an extra week to prepare for these guys is probably not a bad thing. And but you didn't quite get that much.
No, we didn't
of
get
it.
the full effect. It's kind of a two-sided deal. We didn't get as much practice time last week as we wanted to prepare for Wofford, but we didn't have a game, and so we were able to heal up some guys, and so we're very healthy going into the game this Saturday, and we've been able to make up enough this week, and our guys will be ready to go. They're excited to get back out there.
So, Coach, what did you focus on during your open week? What were you trying to, what were your points of emphasis?
Well, consistency and execution in all 3 phases was a big deal. Getting back to just being really, really fundamental and playing sound on defense. On offense, just continuing to get more crisp with our execution and trying to iron out some of the mistakes that have really hampered us. And I told them, that's the big thing is we've been really, really good at times, but the consistency is what's been keeping us the last couple of games from being what we were the first few games.
Yeah, the first 2 games, quite a bit different than the last 2 ball games. No question about that. So there were some things that played a major part here, but the Bulldogs are back. We're hoping that all of the bad stuff is behind us. And game week coming up, Wofford week. Is it like, and I want to get into them a little bit more later
Sure.
and more in depth, obviously, but to a degree, is it like looking into a mirror when you play these guys?
A little bit. They do have some variation on offense and defense that's different from us, special teams too. But, at the core of things, the fundamental things that Mike Ayers believes in are identical to the fundamental things that I believe in and our staffs believe in. So, you're going to see a tough physical football team that believes in running the football and playing solid defense. And, they do a good job. They've been there together forever. Mike's been there for 28 years and done a great job the entire time. He runs a class program. His players they're going to compete. They're going to come right at you. but they're going to conduct themselves in a first-class manner. And so I have tremendous respect for him, and I hope that our program evolves into exactly what he's created there.
Lots to talk about with Coach. We'll be here till the top of the hour. And as I mentioned a little while ago, we'll also be joined by one of the owners of Home Team Barbecue. Aaron Siegel is here tonight and is going to join us in a little while to talk a little bit about their business and all of that sort of thing. So we're looking forward to hearing from him as well. The place is filling up just a little bit. We're looking forward to Wofford Week, and we'll talk more about that with the coach when we come back to Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue in West Ashley in a moment on Sports Radio 1450.
Style, selection, service, quality, value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
Ron's Home Team Barbecue in West Ashley. This is the Mike Houston Radio Show. We welcome you back on Sports Radio 1450, the flagship station for the Citadel Sports Network. And we're back on the air on Saturday, afternoon football. That's the way it feels right to me anyway, Coach. You got a 2 o'clock ball game on Saturday. Lots going on this weekend, too.
Yeah, big weekend on campus with Parents Weekend. It's for Parents Weekend, the seniors receive their ring, which is a significant moment in the life of a Citadel cadet. So our seniors will get their rings on Friday afternoon. We worked our schedule on Friday around being able to do that, and that way they don't miss anything crucial to our prep and planning. And then campus will just be jam-packed this weekend with all the festivities. So it should be an exciting weekend, around the ball game.
With the flooding that went on, and obviously I had seen during several times last week that Haygood Avenue was affected. Yeah. How's the field? How are the streets surrounding the stadium right now? And
the intersection at Haygood is still flooded.
Okay.
So the intersection is still closed down. I would imagine it will recede by Saturday, but the stadium is great. Went out and had the turf checked today. I'll check it again tomorrow, but it's drying up really well. It should be a very solid footing. It drains well. Mike Groshon, who takes care of our field, will be able to mow it and paint it before Saturday.
Okay.
So as long as we don't get any, surprise weather between now and Saturday, it'll be a really good surface.
Well, at one point it was 10% chance of rain. Now it's grown a little bit. I'm kind of hoping it goes back in the other direction.
Yeah,
we don't need any more of that.
No, I hope so, because that's it should be a really exciting Saturday afternoon and a great ball game between two good teams, and so I hope we have good weather for it.
You had also mentioned in your press conference yesterday that some of the players will be, like you watch an NFL game in the month of October, you're going to see the guys wearing some form of pink shoe or gloves or wristbands or whatever the case may be for National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. What's going on with your guys with that?
Well, and you know, it's a pretty sensitive subject. It was something that you know, Amanda and I had a very close friend, the godmother of our children, who passed away this year from breast cancer. So it's a cause that we believe in, and you know, want to respect the appropriate way. So to me, it's just a little bit more than just wearing, you know, a style.
Yeah.
So we chose to pay respects and honor the cause by any player that's been directly impacted by this terrible disease will have a pink ribbon on the back of their helmet. And so we have right at a dozen players who have unfortunately had their families you know, impacted by this disease, and they've got the ribbons on their helmets and ready to go for Saturday. So we thought that was very appropriate and you know, a very tasteful way to pay tribute.
I'll get the uniform question out of the way now. What's that going to be?
We are going to be navy jersey and lead pant, which is the blazer uniform.
Okay. Gotcha.
The navy jersey we wore a good bit last year. The lead pant, of course, we've already worn once this year. Works out pretty good with you know, the potential to maybe have a little bit of a muddy field. The darker uniforms do a little bit better in that kind of environment.
Gotcha. So Wofford is the opponent. We'll get into them a little bit more as we go along here. Parents' Day, just a lot of different things going on campus this weekend. You also had an honor bestowed on the program recently. The Defensive Player of the Month of September was Dee Delaney, who is a corner on your team and a guy who has 4 interceptions in the month of September.
Yeah, and Devontae's played really well. You know, he struggled last year playing as a freshman, seeing his first snaps last year, and kind of got thrown into the fire. And it's just like, you know, with any young player, and I've talked about it many times, is you learn from your mistakes, and experience comes from making those mistakes and going through that learning process. So the unfortunate part is he had to go through that experience gaining process last year. The positive is with his God-given abilities, with his work ethic and drive, and with the hard work that Coach Drayton and Coach Taylor have done with him, you know, he's improved drastically over the last year. Now, my challenge to him has been, you know, listen, you can't sit here and think all of a sudden you've arrived. Yeah, that's the worst mistake that he could make. The thing he's got to do is continue to do the things daily that he's done to get him to this point, and push himself to improve fundamentally each day, and then you should see continued improvement from him. But certainly excited for him, and a great you know, honor for him, you know, kind of reward for the hard work he's put in.
Your Citadel Bulldogs have been on top of the league standings since the 12th of September. That's a long time.
It is. We'd like to keep it there for a little while longer. We'll have a hard time doing that. We've got a very, very good football team coming in that's also 1-0 in the SoCon. You know, Wofford's 3-2. Both of their losses have been to FBS opponents. They lost to Idaho, and then they had another tough loss there. It's slipping me right.
Clemson
right now.
led off the season.
Yeah, Clemson to lead the season. But, you know, the Idaho game sticks out because that's a game they had a chance to win. And I felt like they probably should have won. They gave up a turnover for a touchdown that put them in a hole early, came back, and a very, very close game there that they had a chance to win in the final seconds. So this is a team that I think easily could be 4-1 with a win over an FBS opponent. You know, it's a good football team.
Wofford is in town, so it's Wofford Week, a big weekend on the campus of the Citadel, and we'll come back and talk more about what that matchup means and get into the X's and O's, if you will, of the Wofford Terriers in just a little bit. We are also going to visit in just a little bit with one of the owners of Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue, and that is Aaron Siegel. He's in the house and is going to join us coming up in a little bit. Coach, you've got some wings to jump into.
Yeah, I got to eventually get into. I told Aaron that you know, ever since he opened his location out at Sullivan's Island, Amanda and I have been coming here for many, many years, and we have always loved the food from Home Team Barbecue, and so we couldn't be more excited to have the relationship with them this year, and certainly our coaching staff enjoys the food from here too. So it's if you've never had it, you need to come out and enjoy it because it's really quality.
Lots of great stuff. There's no question about it. They've got Sullivan's Island. They've got this one here in West Ashley, and we're going to talk to Aaron about the possibility of there being more than just those two locations. And so we'll visit with him coming up in just a little bit from right now. We'll take a timeout. This is the Mike Houston Radio Show on Sports Radio 1450.
There's more for you at Substation 2. Since 1975, Substation 2 has been serving sliced-to-order, freshly made subs on our specialty New York-style bread, piled high with the finest meats and freshest produce. From the number 19 Super Special with 7 mouth-watering meats and cheeses to an assortment of specialty sandwiches and salads. Substation 2 proudly supports the Citadel Bulldogs with 2 locations in Charleston and 43 locations throughout the Southeast.
The Coach Mike Houston radio show, and we are here until the top of the hour. It's 7:19 at the moment. My name is Mike Legg. The head coach will be back with us in just a few minutes from right now, but we wanted to get an opportunity to visit with one of the owners of Home Team Barbecue, and that is Aaron Siegel. It's awfully good to see you, Aaron. Coach said at the end of our last segment how excited he is and talked about a little bit of the past visits that he had to your Sullivan's Island location. So let me echo what he said. Thank you very much. We're honored to be here all season long, and we're glad you could be with us tonight to visit a little bit about your operation here.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me on. We're glad to have you all here all year, and love supporting Citadel's football program and Citadel in general. And just being happy to have the local folks in our place. You know what I mean?
They're excited about being here. They all seem to be very contented. Their stomachs are full, and so I don't hear anybody complain about the food they get at any of your locations.
Well,
so.
you need to let me know if they do.
You have built quite a little operation, you and your partners, so let's talk about that just a little bit. You know, and you and I had visited off air a little bit before. Coaches talk about continuity in their staffs, and continuity, makes things that much easier to go along here. You have a little bit of that in your ownership team as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got my chef over at West Ashley's been with us since we opened 9 years ago. Another one of my partners has been with me for 9 years. The gentleman that books all our bands and also does some administrative work has been with us for 9 years. My chef out at Sullivan's Island has been with us since we opened almost 7 years ago. Our GM over there has been with us for 7 years. Catering director has been with us for 6 years. So we've got a lot of time together, and that does make for a lot of continuity. And in the restaurant industry, it's great to have. It's a good formula for consistency, and that's what the restaurant business is all about, is about consistency and giving people the same thing every time. And hopefully we get to do that, and so we certainly try hard to do that. And it's great. We've kind of created sort of a little family, and it's fun. Everybody's having kids and things like that, so we're all kind of growing up together, which is nice.
That is nice, no question about it. This is your first location.
Yes, sir.
Your second location in Sullivan's Island. Plans for a third?
Yes, plans are we're in construction downtown at 126 Wellman Street, which is a cross street between Morrison and Meeting. So it's kind of the upper part of the peninsula, kind of an up-and-coming part of town. and we hope to be open sometime towards the end of the year, first next year, and we're really looking forward to it. It should be fun. Outdoor seating, a bunch of TVs as well, so we'll have all the games on, things like that, and wood-fired grill, something new for us. So, we're looking forward to it.
A lot of people can't say that when they go to work every day, they have a lot of fun in their job. I get that you do, though.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's fun. It's just like anything else. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not. The best thing about my job, I think, is I get to do a bunch of different things. And I came up in my career being a chef, being a line cook, and I've still got that in my blood. But all the other things I get to do, events, talk to you, manage and things like that. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's a lot of fun, but it keeps me on my toes, and it's a good time. I'm really proud of what me and my guys have built, and being local and really being about the community. So, at the end of the day, when you sit down and you're at home on your couch, you might have had a rough day, but it's good. It's really nice.
You shared with me that Hogs for a Cause was preempted, if you will, based on the weather, but obviously a great cause. You talked about the community involvement there. That's one of those circumstances that the whole thing wasn't able to pull off like it was supposed to over the weekend because of the bad weather. Still, a lot of money raised for a good cause.
That's correct. Yeah, we raised the weekend of September 19th, which was the South Carolina-Georgia game. We raised $7,500 for Hogs for the Cause, and then we raised some money on GoFundMe as well. And that will all go towards Hogs for the Cause currently. And we will also go down to the event in New Orleans in the end of March and try to raise some more money. And we'll probably do an event before that, probably some kind of block party here, which will be a bunch of food and bands and things like that, so we can raise some more money for a great cause. Hogs for the Cause is it benefits families with children with pediatric brain cancer. So it's a great cause, and we're sorry the event got rained out, but obviously there was a lot more important things going on this past weekend, and we'll keep everybody updated on the cause, and hopefully they'll be back next fall as well.
Yeah,
so.
That'd be great. Well, you've built something really special here, and we congratulate you for that. We thank you for letting us be in on it, to be here. This is a great venue for us every week. We're happy to be able to talk about football. I get up here and talk for an hour. It's not so bad. It's a pretty good
I'm just
deal.
happy to talk to somebody besides Bobby Harden. I mean, golly. I mean, he's on me all the time. I can't even hold a candle to him. He just knocks me down.
He'll be here tomorrow, but you're going to take a day off probably, right? Or be at a different location.
If Bobby's here and I'm not, I'm at least going to call him.
Good.
and
Good.
give it to him. So.
Well, that would be perfect. I think I think you should do that. No question about it. So, thank you for having us each and every week. It was nice to visit with you.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the success, and you've got again another location coming up here real soon. So, we're thrilled to be here. Glad you could be by. Stop by anytime, will you?
Thanks, Mike. Yeah,
right.
Go Bulldogs.
Right.
I'm a Georgia fan, so I can root for both Bulldogs.
You can say that, yeah.
All right.
No question. Hey, thanks, Aaron.
All right, take care, Mike.
Great seeing you.
All right, great to see you.
That's Aaron Siegel. We're going to take a time out here from Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue in West Ashley. This is the Coach Mike Houston radio show, and it will resume in a moment on Sports Radio 1450.
So I needed to deposit a check. I was about to head to the bank, but out of nowhere, it just started to rain. Like, really rain. I did not want to go out. But then I was like, duh, just use your phone. Mobile deposit techno thingy to the rescue. I'm Raina, and I bank human at TD Bank.
Houston radio show. A lot of things accomplished already, but still a lot of discussion to come about the Wofford Terriers. It's Wofford week, and the Dogs have had a little bit of extra time to prepare for the Wofford Terriers. We will have 2 of the 5 top rushing teams in all of FCS football coming up on one field on Saturday. The Citadel Bulldogs are 3rd. Wofford is 5th. They run what's called the wing bone a little bit there, Coach. So, again, we talked a little earlier about looking in a mirror and seeing some different things there. The one thing that I notice about their wing bone this year is that they've had 3 different guys running it.
Yeah, that's they've played 3 different quarterbacks. They started a couple of different quarterbacks. And the one that I think will start against us Saturday, I don't think started a game yet this year. So
okay,
it's they're all 3 talented. Evan Jacks is the quarterback that I think we'll see the most of Saturday. He played the bulk of the game last week against Mercer. He had a very good game against us last year. He, statistically has, the best year going so far. But certainly Brad Butler and Brandon Goodson, number 16 and number 14, both have had some shining moments so far this year. My gut feeling is that, they're trying to develop, another guy besides Jax. Obviously in this offense, you want to make sure you have more than one guy to go to. But I do think we'll see Evan a good bit on Saturday.
Sometimes when you see multiple quarterbacks, it's because one provides something that the others don't, for example.
Yeah.
But is that the case with these guys?
Well, I think Jax is the one that can – they all 3 run well. Jax is the one that has made the most big plays, and whether it's against us last year or last week against Wofford. So he has that potential. But obviously there's something about the other 2 that Wade Lang and Mike Ayers both really like a lot.
Was Wofford's game last year the hardest one to get over?
I don't know. And it was tough now.
Yeah.
It was tough. I still say the Sanford game was the toughest to get over. But, Wofford's right there with it. You're sitting there and we have a play to win it, 4th and goal from the 3-yard line going in, 1 second on the clock. We call the quarterback draw. It looks like it's there post-snap. Everybody thinks Aaron gets in. Our kids start, rushing the field thinking we've won the game. But the officials right there on the scene said the ball didn't cross the goal line, and it was awfully close because the bulk of Aaron's body landed in the end zone.
Yeah.
So, but, I don't think that the call was missed at all. I think it was a very close call, and probably the official made the correct call there.
And I think we've discussed this before, but even had there been replay last year, that was so close, I don't know that anything would have changed.
I think that whatever the call on the field that was made would not have been overturned. Yeah. If they had called it a touchdown, there's no way they would have overturned it based on the video. And, them calling it that he didn't get in, there's no way that there's anything on the video that is definitive the other direction. So it was as close a play as I've ever seen in my coaching career. And obviously a tough loss, but I thought that game also showed a lot of what that group we had last year had in them.
Now, my partner during the broadcast, Lee Glaze, will tell you there's no way in the world he didn't get in. He was right there looking at it on the.
Lee's pretty biased now, and nothing like a homer on the radio. So, but and I'm sure all of our fans feel the same way. But and certainly I wanted him to be in. But anyway, we've moved on from that a long time ago.
Yeah, and I know you don't care anything about. I've even seen some of your quotes. You don't care anything about this streak they're talking about, right? Nothing.
Well, I wasn't here for the bulk of it. I was here for the game last year, and in our players, nothing that mattered, nothing that happened last year is going to matter Saturday. It's not like we get a couple extra points because of this, this whole deal. It's not like that they do. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what those 2 teams do between 2 and 4:30 or 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon in Johnson Haygood Stadium. So.
You were you had mentioned Mike Ayers a little earlier on. If I remember correctly, when you were coaching at Lenore-Rhine, wasn't he and his staff one of those staffs that you would visit during the off season a little bit?
I called him up after my first year as the head coach, and we had talked on the phone before just about trying to schedule a game and stuff like that. But I called him up and said, to ask if I could come down and visit with him because he'd been there for so long and had so much, steady success. And so Coach Thompson and I went down. Brent spent time with Wade Lang, their offensive coordinator, during the time we were down there. And Coach Ayers and I really just talked about program philosophy kind of stuff. Whether it's with your assistant coaches, with your team overall, with building a program at a small private college with high academics, which mirrored very much what Lenore Ryan was, and has a lot of carryover to what the Citadel is as well. He's one of those guys that was willing to sit down and talk with a young coach and share his beliefs and thoughts, and certainly I gained more respect for him from that time together. And I already had the respect for what he had done.
One of the things I hear about Wofford that most are impressed about is that they will take a kid who not everybody is after,
right?
And then all of a sudden he somewhat maximizes his potential. Do you run into them a lot on the recruiting trail?
We do, and it's because we're both after the same kind of player because of the systems that we both run. And then you got the academic, factor there. There's certain players that we just cannot recruit, and there's certain players that they cannot recruit because academically they do not fit our institutions. So you're kind of looking for the same kind of player, and we went head to head with them a good bit last year, during the recruiting season, and I anticipate us to do the same this year.
You'll be up against a back that can put some numbers on the ground. That's Lorenzo Long.
He's really good. He's really good, and the thing they've done this year, they found a lot of different ways to get him the football, and he is a great runner. He's big and strong. He has good speed, very good vision. He's just a really, really solid back. So we'll really be challenged to try to hold him down on Saturday.
One of those guys that can catch it some if they throw.
Yeah. But really he's the most dangerous coming downhill right at you. He's just very hard to get down on the ground and has good enough speed that when he gets in the secondary, you can have a hard time catching him.
Wofford lists themselves as a multiple 50 defense. Tell me about what goes on that side of the ball.
Well, they've been doing a lot of the same things for a long time. It's a slant and angle 50. Pretty good size D linemen that are very athletic. They have a freshman nose guard out of Maryland, Miles Brown, who is really outstanding. And I was talking to Coach Ayers about him today. Just a very impressive player on film. They have really big, strong inside linebackers. Drake Michelson, number 9, had a great game against us last year. He's kind of the anchor of their defense, a senior, all-conference player a year ago. Big outside linebackers, and the kids played very, very hard. They played very disciplined, very physical. So, it's a tough defense. They will defend us very well. We're going to have to really work to earn our yardage on Saturday.
Michelson was the defensive player of the week in the league. He had 11 stops with 2.5 tackles for loss in the ball game against Mercer. Tell me about that game because it went to overtime.
It was an exciting game. Wofford for the most part. They had control of the game the whole day. But Mercer just never would go away. It was about a 10-point game with about 5 minutes to go. Mercer scores to bring it to within 3. They onside kick, do not get it. But on the first play of the drive, Wofford puts the ball on the ground. Mercer gets the ball at midfield. They drive it all the way down. They almost score to win the game in regulation. End up having to kick a field goal from about the 3-4 yard line. To go to overtime. Mercer scores on the first play of overtime on a post corner route, but misses the extra point. And Wofford scores 4 plays later, hits the extra point, and wins by 1. So really an exciting finish at Mercer, which is, as we know from last year, is a hard place to win. Mercer is a very talented young football team. So I think it's really a quality road win that they, Wofford's able to pull off in some not great weather Saturday night.
I was going to say, wasn't it a little bit muddy and messy there?
Well, they've got turf, so the footing was fine. Because really on those new field turf fields, the rain doesn't really have a drastic effect, but it does have an effect on ball security and being able to throw the ball and things like that. So it was not the easiest conditions.
So the Citadel Bulldogs will get an opportunity to take on the Wofford Terriers coming up on Saturday. We mentioned Wofford being 3-2. They're 1-0 in the league. Loss at Clemson, 49-10. Tennessee Tech out of the Ohio Valley Conference. They beat 34-14 in Spartanburg. Lost at Idaho 41-38. Gardner-Webb, a team the Bulldogs played last year, they beat 16-0. And then at Mercer, the game we've talked about, the overtime win for them 34-33. The shutout against Gardner-Webb, your defense has pitched a shutout this year, so has theirs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the win against Gardner-Webb was a pretty impressive win because Gardner-Webb is a good football team, quality program, and one that we had to really battle with last year to get a big win in Johnson-Haygood Stadium, and so that's really a quality win for them to go up and shut them out.
As far as some of the statistical stuff goes for the Citadel Bulldogs, they, as we mentioned in our show last week, Quinlan Washington still leading the league in kickoff returns. A guy that we talked about last week is a guy that is not really, to you, is out of nowhere, but to the fans, he's kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, he is, what an outstanding young man. And I'll tell you, we have a lot of them in our program, and he's definitely one of them. He's a yes sir, no sir guy, very intelligent, doing fantastic in the classroom, has a tremendous amount of talent, was very raw when we got him, redshirted him last year. He started at slot back, moved him in spring to our bandit position, and he just improves every single week. So he's doing a great job returning kicks right now. You saw him a lot on defense so far. You're going to continue to see him a lot more. And I think he's really going to turn into a quality ball player for us in time.
Citadel also leads the Southern Conference in third down conversions. They're at 549, which is second best in the FCS. And I've talked about this with your offensive coordinator, Brent Thompson, before, but a lot of times you can attribute that, the conversion rate being higher, to the fact that you're in what's called third and manageable quite a bit more.
If you're good on first down and good on second down, you'll have manageable third downs. And that's really the key to us being able to convert first downs, on third down, is having third and something probably less than 4. And we feel like we should be able to convert that, the majority of the time.
A lot of times I know you'd be happy with 4 on first down, but a lot of times this year you've been 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4. And
that always makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So, you feel good when you're ahead of the chains. And able to get a short yardage on second down. It really opens things up as to what you can do. You don't necessarily have to run it there for a flex bone team, but you can and go ahead and convert the first down, whatever. But it really forces the defense to stay fairly vanilla.
Dogs are first in the league and third in FCS in rushing yards per game at 344. They have 8 interceptions on the season, tied for 4th in FCS football, first in the league there. And an interesting stat that Derek brought up was that you've intercepted a pass every 13 and a half times they've thrown it.
Yeah, and pretty good success there. We've had two defensive scores on those 8 interceptions, and several others that set up a score. And certainly we've talked about it before. Anytime you can steal a possession and either score or give your offense very, very good field position, really that goes a long ways towards winning ball games. And so, hopefully we can continue to force turnovers on defense, and we can, take care of the ball better on offense, because really that's going to equate to a lot of success on the scoreboard.
We've talked about Wofford offensively, defensively, not much on special teams. Can you give me a scouting report there?
Well, they have a very strong-legged kicker in David Marvin. He actually had messed his knee up last year and was kicking with a brace on against us and still was adequate. But he has a very, very strong leg. I think had 3 field goals a couple of games ago against Gardner-Webb, and definitely a weapon from pretty long yardage. Their kick returner, Nick Colvin, has returned a kick for a touchdown already this year, and so a dynamic guy there in the return game. So, they're the same in special teams as they're on offense and defense. They're very, very solid. They're very sound, very fundamental, and you've got to be on top of your game when you go up against them.
Colvin is 7th in FCS football in kickoff returns, averaging about 32. A long one obviously is going to help you in that regard, and that has been a good strong point for them so far this season. We've got a lot more to talk about with the coach when we come back here from Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue. We're going to talk about the goal systems that the Citadel Bulldogs have. If you go to their facilities, you'll take a look around and see some boards hanging up, things that they focus on game day, and how they've done so far this year. Lots to talk about with the coach, and we'll return to Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue and do that in a moment on Sports Radio 1450. name's Mike Legg. Thanks for being with us on Sports Radio 1450. Coming up this weekend, the Citadel Bulldogs and the Wofford Terriers. Our pregame coverage begins 2 hours before the game begins at 2, and so pregame time is at noon. And Jay Harper, a member of our broadcast team, is going to be sitting down and having a visit with Brandon Eakins this week, Coach. And so tell us a little bit about that young man. He certainly didn't travel far to come to the Citadel and play football.
Product of Wando High School, and had an injury his senior year in high school that he was able to overcome. And Coach Higgins and his staff had signed Brandon out of Wando, and redshirted his first year. Came back from the injury. Had played some when we got here. Really kind of came into his own a little bit last year. Had a big game against UNC Charlotte with his first career touchdown. Had 2 in that game, but that was his first touchdown of his career. Had a very solid game for us last week, 2 weeks ago against Charleston Southern. And, just really a soft-spoken, very, very sharp, outstanding young man, and one that I think has potential. And, we've really challenged him to continue to work to bring that onto the field on game day. And so I'm hoping to see some big things from him down the stretch.
When you recruit wide receivers, and you've had a good group, you've got some veteran guys. Obviously, it's one of the strengths of the football team on the offensive side of the football. What do you tell a recruit you expect from them from that position?
Well, number one, they've got to be willing to block. So you've got to have, pretty tough-minded receivers there. The negative for them, is probably we're not going to throw the ball a whole lot. The positive for them is when we do throw it, they're going to have one-on-one man coverage 90% of the time. And so really you have the potential for big plays more often in this offense in the passing game than you do in a traditional offense. We may have players that don't have quite the number of catches that they would in a traditional offense, but their yards per catch is usually some of the highest in the league. And, at Lenore Ryan, a couple of times we had, receivers that average right at 20 yards a catch. Of course, Calvin Johnson, better than average receiver, played in this offense in college at Georgia Tech, and obviously put up huge numbers there. And Tech has had some other great wide receivers there in this offense that are playing in the NFL right now. And so, there is an attraction, for a guy in this offense because he can make big plays.
And you can dispel the rumor now that you don't have to be from Wando High School to be a receiver.
No, you don't, but we got a bunch of them. I mean, you got Alex, you got Rudder, you had Taylor Kimball. So you've got a lot of Wando guys in that wide receiving core. So, but, certainly, Jimmy Noonan, head coach at Wando, is a Citadel grad. So we got a little bit of an in there with him. And, I can't talk about specific players on the radio or anything like that, but certainly, we want to recruit the local schools, very, very well.
It's Wofford Week at the Citadel, and it's Parents' Day. Talk about all the things that a young man has to balance. You talked about the ring ceremony. That's the culmination of a 4-year journey.
Yeah.
But you get to come back home and play in front of your home fans, and talk about that whole experience, and particularly this weekend's experience.
Yeah, it's an exciting weekend. For the freshmen, Parents Weekend is, really probably the first time that they start getting a little more freedom. They're out of some of the plebe system that they go through, with the cadre system that they go through. They kind of graduate from a phase of that after this weekend. They're able to start getting off campus a little bit after this weekend. So it's a big weekend for the freshmen. For the older players, it's your parents are there to see you, receive your ring, which we talked about. It's a significant deal. And the ceremony that they have and the picture deal that they have with their parents is a big moment for them. And my thing I've really preached to our kids last year and this year is you got to make sure that you enjoy that, but at the same time you can't let it be a distraction. You've got to keep your focus on the ball game on Saturday, because 20 years from now you're going to remember this weekend. You're going to remember Ring Weekend. You're going to remember Parents Weekend. And you're going to remember this ball game probably as much as any ball game you played in your time at the Citadel, and you want to make sure it's a positive memory. And so we were able to get a win on Parents Weekend last year against UNC Charlotte. It took us 2 overtimes, but we got it. So, I hope we can find a way to pull one out this weekend also.
Did the weather over the weekend, I know you had a lot of plans to get some of your coaches out of town. Were you hampered significantly that way?
Well, we were able to get on the road recruiting. I was able to get to my speaking engagements Thursday and Friday. We got out and got on the road. The one negative is a lot of the ball games Friday night got rained out, and so we weren't able to see as many of our recruits play live Friday night as we had hoped to. But we were able to get out into the schools and, be able to check in on everybody and collect some stuff throughout the state.
Before the break, I mentioned that when we came back, I was going to talk to you about what I guess rudimentarily I'll call the star system, but you've referred to before about how many stars your team got for a particular ball game. So talk about the things that you put a star next to, if you will, goal setting wise.
Yeah, we kind of changed the way we did our goal board this year. And I've had years where we didn't have a goal board. I've had years where we did have a goal board. We've had one for the last, several years at Lenore-Ryan and last year at the Citadel. And they were the traditional offensive, defensive goals, yardage surrendered, yardage gained, points scored, points surrendered. All the stuff that you track stat wise. But really, we decided this year we wanted it not to be as much offense, defense, and special teams. We wanted to be team-oriented goals and really just focus on the things that we feel like are critical to winning the football game, because that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
That's the thing that matters. So, obviously win is a goal, okay? But to achieve that, we had four categories that we really look at. One is time of possession. So in order to win the time of possession battle, that means that we've got to successfully control the football on offense, and at the same time, we've got to force the opponent into getting off the field, which is going to allow us to gain more time than them. Turnovers, which we've talked about that a lot this year. Traditionally, a lot of games come down to the turnover battle right there. Penalties, which that's something we really, kind of starred as something we really wanted to improve on this year. We have improved on it over last year. And then the kicking game. And so we feel like if those 4 categories, if we win those 4 categories, chances are we're going to win the football game. And it correlates that our two wins this year have both been 4-star ball games. And our 2 losses have been 1-star ball games. So, it's a really telling factor there with those particular categories.
Time of possession has been good for the Dogs as they have moved into this particular system. Right now it sits at just a little over 30 minutes, so a slight edge in the time of possession. Penalties have been an area where you've been really good. Your opponent this weekend is really good in that regard too. You guys don't get penalized all that much.
Yeah, and we had a couple last ball game I was frustrated with. Hopefully we get those cleaned up. They were really effort penalties. But we've been doing a good job with that. And I think those 4 things in a game like this where you have 2 ball control offenses, that means you're going to have limited possessions. So I think those 4 categories may be as critical this weekend as any ball game we'll play all year.
I've heard coaches before talk about how they really feel like they know that it's going to come down to a certain number of possessions on average in any given ball game. Does that kind of work its way out to be true? Are there 8, 6, 7? How many?
The big thing is you want to maximize your possessions offensively, and you don't want to give any away. I think that's where in a game like this the turnovers are going to be critical. If we can gain 2 or 3 possessions in the turnover category, where we're able to have that kind of edge in the turnover category, I think that could be critical here Saturday, because that gives you that many more chances to score.
Everybody in the league is in action against another league team for the first time this season, and so you've got the 4 league games. So let's talk about each one of these individually just a little bit here. Furman at Chattanooga.
It'll be interesting. Furman has changed drastically since last year. They look a little more like the old school Furman. They're sitting there in the eye. They're running downhill, running game, ISO, G-power, split zone, that style of stuff. Play action, drop back passing game, and have been very, very effective. And obviously playing really good defensively. They held South Carolina State, which is a pretty athletic offense last week, to 3 points. So, a much improved Furman team against what looks like to be the best team in our league and the 6th-ranked nationally UT Chattanooga Mocs.
Samford is at VMI this weekend.
Yeah, another interesting game. I think everybody agrees VMI has improved over last year. Alex Cobb is lighting it up just like he ended the year last year, and so a dangerous team there at VMI. Samford, I think, is probably an improved team with Chris Hatcher taking over there and bringing a little bit more explosion offensively. And I think Samford is probably right there with Chattanooga as far as talent.
Mercer at Western Carolina.
Be another interesting one. I think Western Carolina, they really kind of shocked them a little bit, coming down here and losing in Charleston in week 2. And I think they had to really, fight to rebound from that. Got a big win last week against Presbyterian where they trailed in the ball game, had to come back late, but ended up winning it, pretty handily. And now you got a Mercer team, very talented, who lost a close game last week that they had a chance to win. So it could be an interesting game there. I do think it being in Cullowhee will be a factor. And I think Western's just a hard team to beat at home.
You seem to know a lot about what the other teams in the league do, but as a staff, how much attention do you and others pay to what goes on in those other games every weekend?
Not a ton unless we're getting ready to play them.
Gotcha.
The big thing, for the last 2 weeks, I've looked at nothing but Wofford. We've looked at every game numerous times, multiple times that they've played this year. We've looked at a lot of their films from last year, not only our game, but a lot of the other games they played last year, looking for any little thing, any little clue, any little tip that might be able to help us. So, really, you're really focused in and honed in on that opponent you're getting ready to play.
A lot of that pre-scouting, does that occur in the off season?
Well, the first 3 opponents we scout in the off season.
Gotcha.
Now our graduate assistants, our support staff, quality control guys, they have already started breaking down Samford, and by the time we finish our game on Saturday, I will immediately have a preliminary scouting report on Samford right in front of me, and all the cut-ups and film and all that's already done. So we've got a staff that scouts a week ahead. Our film crew, they've already got games a couple of weeks out. Prepared, so there's a lot of advanced scouting going on from some of the behind-the-scenes guys.
Some really neat technology, too, obviously, there. I've seen coaches in different sports and in your sport, too, be able to break down with individual kids what just went on, sometimes even on the bus on the way back.
Yeah, and we're still working on being able to do that, but we can look at the previous week's games if we already have it downloaded on the laptops on the bus and watch it on the way back. I don't know. Usually I'm about the only one that wants to look at the next opponent. Everybody else just wants to dang rest.
Yeah.
But, we got a deal this year with iPads where there's an app that you can look at film on our hard drive, just like you're sitting in a film room, so the kids are able to watch film on their iPhone or iPad or laptop, anywhere that they have internet access.
Very impressive. There's an awful lot of stuff going on there. Big weekend for you here. Big weekend with regards to what's going on. Big weekend for the opposition. It's a league game, so it's going to be a more important ball game.
It is. It's an important game because it's a league game. It's a quality opponent. I think it's a game that's going to be a very hard-fought game. It'll be a game that we'll have to really play well to win. But playing a team this caliber, if you are able to pull out a win, what a quality win it would be, and would give you such momentum going into the next week. So it's a big ball game.
You've had a lot of games at home this year. Obviously, you'll be a little backloaded on road games a little bit later on. But again, what do you have, 12,000 at your last home game?
Yeah, and hoping for a big crowd this weekend. I'm excited about 2 o'clock kickoff. I enjoy the afternoon ball games, and it's something special about college football in the afternoons, and I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere with everybody in there for Parents Weekend.
Looking forward to it, Coach. As always, thank you so much for your time. Enjoyed it as always, and
thanks a lot. Now I want to give a shout out to our fans that came out to Fiery Ron's this weekend, and our alumni for their loyal support. Excited to always have them here. Thanks for everybody listening in. Go Bulldogs.
All right, that's Coach Mike Houston. I'm Mike Legg. Thanks so much for joining us this week on the Head Coach Mike Houston Show. We're back again in a week to talk a little bit more about what happened over the weekend. It's the Dogs and the Wofford Terriers this weekend. We want to thank Barry Daniels back in our studio as well. That's it from Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue in West Ashley. I'm Mike Legg. Good night, everybody.